and welcome to our 7 Days Report Show. I'm your host, Vasilios Nikolaos Vitsiloyanis. Here, we bring you all the news from around the world through all major media outlets. We bring you all the news that matters most. We delve into real news affecting our society, politics, economy, culture, and education. Let's get started with our first news. Health officials are closely monitoring 18 passengers from a cruise ship linked to a hantavirus outbreak after they were transported to specialized U.S. medical units for observation. The group includes 16 individuals now isolated at facilities in Nebraska and 2 others at Emory University Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. Among them is one passenger who tested positive for hantavirus, a rare but potentially deadly rodent-borne virus that causes severe respiratory distress. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, confirmed the case late last week, prompting swift action to contain any spread. These passengers are stable but under strict protocols to prevent transmission, said Dr. Elena Ramirez, a CDC spokesperson, in a statement released Monday. The outbreak traces back to the Ocean Voyager, a luxury liner that docked in Los Angeles after a Pacific voyage. At least 5 cases were reported on board, with symptoms including fever, muscle aches, and breathing difficulties hallmarks of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. The virus, primarily spread through contact with infected rodent droppings, urine, or saliva, has a mortality rate of up to 38% in the U.S. Nebraska's National Quarantine Unit in Lincoln, equipped for high containment scenarios, received the largest contingent. The passengers, mostly U.S. citizens returning from ports in Mexico and Hawaii, underwent initial screenings before airlift. In Atlanta, the 2 at Emory, both in their 50s, are receiving advanced care at the hospital's infectious disease center. This is a precautionary measure, Ramirez emphasized. Hantavirus doesn't spread person to person, but we're leaving no stone unturned. The cruise line has suspended operations and is cooperating with investigations. Public health experts urge vigilance, especially in rodent-prone areas. Contact tracing continues, with no new U.S. cases reported as of Monday evening. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer was set to hold crisis talks with Health Secretary Wes Streeting as mounting rebellion within Labour threatens his grip on power. The high-stakes meeting at Downing Street comes just hours after 4 ministers dramatically resigned, plunging Starmer's government into turmoil. Among them was prominent MP Jess Phillips, who quit her role as safeguarding minister in a blistering statement accusing the leadership of abandoning working families. Phillips, a vocal critic of Starmer's centrist pivot, joined Zubair Ahmed, a close ally of Streeting, in walking out. The other resignations include junior ministers from the Home Office and Treasury, citing irreconcilable policy clashes over welfare reforms and NHS funding. The departures follow a bruising week for Starmer, whose approval ratings have plummeted amid economic stagnation and backlash to controversial tax hikes in the spring budget. Now, a group of at least 20 Labour MPs is plotting to trigger a leadership contest, demanding Starmer step aside before the party's annual conference in September. Sources close to the rebels say they have the numbers for a no-confidence vote if the PM resists. Streeting, 43, has positioned himself as a pragmatic alternative, blending Starmer's fiscal discipline with bolder public service investments. Insiders describe today's meeting as a last-ditch effort to shore up unity, though tensions run high. Wes isn't ruling out a bid, but he's loyal for now, one cabinet source told reporters. Starmer's team insists the government remains stable, pointing to recent wins on green energy. Yet with by-elections looming, the Prime Minister's survival hangs in the balance. Labour's internal strife risks handing ammunition to opposition leader Kemi Badenoch as voters watch a party eat itself alive. President Donald Trump arrived in Beijing on Wednesday to a lavish welcome, flanked by an entourage featuring NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang and Tesla SpaceX chief Elon Musk, as he kicked off a high-stakes 2-day summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Red carpets, honor guards, and a dragon dance greeted Air Force One at Beijing Capital International Airport, signaling China's diplomatic flourish for the first U.S. presidential visit in nearly a decade. Trump, aiming to secure economic victories, plans to press Xi to open up Chinese markets to American businesses, focusing on semiconductors, electric vehicles, and AI technologies. The trip comes at a pivotal moment. Trump's public approval ratings have dipped amid escalating tensions with Iran, including recent U.S. airstrikes that have rattled global markets. A fragile US-China trade truce forged last year hangs in the balance. Analysts say Trump needs tangible wins like eased restrictions on Nvidia's chip exports or Tesla factory expansions to bolster his domestic standing ahead of midterm elections. Huang and Musk, key figures in Trump's tech advisory circle, underscore the summit's commercial bent. Nvidia seeks relief from US export curbs on advanced GPUs vital for China's AI boom, while Musk eyes deeper integration for Tesla's Shanghai Gigafactory amid slumping US sales. China and America can win together if doors stay open, Trump posted on Truth Social before landing. Xi, hosting at the Great Hall of the People, emphasized mutual respect in a pre-summit statement. Talks on Thursday cover tariffs, intellectual property, and supply chains. Yet risks loom. Beijing's threats of retaliation over Iran could derail progress. As fireworks lit Beijing's skyline, the world watched whether this summit would revive the truce or ignite a new trade war. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel said on Thursday that Havana would accept humanitarian aid from the United States, provided deliveries follow internationally recognized protocols, but reiterated that the more effective relief would be an end to Washington's long-standing trade embargo. Speaking amid mounting unrest and widespread power outages that have fueled protests across the island, Diaz-Canel framed the offer as conditional and technical. If aid meets all internationally accepted norms and isn't a pretext for interference, Cuba will accept it, he said, according to state media. He urged any shipments to be coordinated with Cuban authorities to ensure transparent distribution to those most in need. The president's comments come after days of nationwide blackouts and fuel and basic goods shortages, which have heightened public frustration and led to sporadic demonstrations. Cuban officials have pointed to U.S. sanctions as a key barrier to acquiring supplies and financing, arguing that the embargo, in place in varying forms for more than 6 decades, exacerbates shortages and undermines recovery efforts. Diaz-Canel insisted that lifting the embargo would provide more durable relief than episodic deliveries. If the goal is genuinely to relieve the suffering of the Cuban people, the United States should lift the blockade, he said, using the government's preferred term for the sanctions. He called for an end to what he described as economic pressure that hampers Cuba's ability to import fuel, medical supplies, and food. Washington has previously offered humanitarian exceptions to sanctions, but mistrust between the two governments remains high. Analysts say any U.S. offer of assistance would likely be scrutinized by Havana for conditions or political strings. For now, Diaz-Canel's stance signals a limited openness to aid while maintaining firm demands for broader policy change. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said on Friday he doubts the United States' seriousness in negotiations over Tehran's nuclear program, and confirmed Tehran has discussed with Russia an offer to transfer enriched uranium abroad. Araghchi, a senior nuclear negotiator, told state media that while channels remain open with world powers, Iran has growing reservations about Washington's intentions after months of stalled diplomacy. "We are not convinced of the seriousness of the U.S. side," he said, arguing that prior U.S. commitments were not sufficiently reliable. He confirmed that Iranian officials had spoken with Russian counterparts about Moscow's proposal to accept some enriched uranium from Iran, a step Tehran has considered as part of confidence-building measures aimed at reducing proliferation concerns while preserving its rights under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Araghchi offered no details on quantities or timelines, saying discussions were exploratory and subject to Iran's political and technical review. The comments come as U.S. President Donald Trump publicly said he would be open to Iran suspending its nuclear activities for 20 years, provided Tehran's commitment was real. Trump framed the proposal as part of a broader push for a more comprehensive, longer-term agreement than the 2015 deal, which Washington abandoned in 2018. Analysts say mutual distrust and domestic politics in both countries complicate prospects for a breakthrough. Iran demands sanctions, relief, and guarantees against future U.S. withdrawal, while Washington insists on verifiable limits and inspections. Russia's involvement could offer a pragmatic channel for limited steps. Still, observers warn that any arrangement will require careful technical detail and political buy-in from Tehran's leadership and skeptical hardliners in Congress and the Iranian parliament. International monitors continue to closely monitor developments as negotiators weigh options to prevent escalation and revive diplomatic frameworks. That was the 7 Days Report Show. I'm your host, Vasilios Nikolaos Vitsiloyanis. Before signing off, I would like to thank you for listening to our news. Until next time, stay informed and be safe. Goodbye.